Lisa. What's up, Lisa?
Hey, Dr. John. How are you doing?
What up? I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Thanks so much for taking my call. And your podcast has been so good. And I've grown so much from listening to you. So I just wanted to thank you for all that you guys do. So
Thanks for being in our gang, man. I was going to say the original awesome. 17, but we got way bigger than that. I didn't mean for
it's 20 now, right?
It's like 26, I think. We got 9. We got 9. So what's up? How can I help?
Okay, so I have a dilemma, and I'm hoping that you can help me. How do I break up with a former best friend of 10 plus years?
Ooh.
I feel like breaking up with significant others or relationships, there's lots of advice for that, but I don't know how to break up with a friend. What's the right way to handle it? So I'm hoping you can help me dig into that.
So is this somebody who is close to you or not close? I mean, close like proximity-wise. They live down the street from you, or they live far away?
No, so we moved to a different state a couple of years ago, and I think as we've moved and I've had that distance, I started to realize, okay, this wasn't what I thought it was, and we've started communicating less and less and it was kind of a natural break until recently when she started calling and texting and emailing and reaching out a lot more. I don't really know what to say. There's no big breakup or point that I can point to that this is the reason why this isn't working. But I just realized I have so much anxiety associated with this relationship and with this friendship. And as I've been working on just my mental health and things I'm going through, I've just realized this isn't quite what I thought it was. So, and I guess just unpacking that.
I guess my first impulse is, you have a natural geographical barrier. It will fade out. And
that's what I thought too.
Well, but here's the deal. All right, I'm going to tell you a conversation I had. I don't think I've talked about it on the show, and if I have, forgive me for repeating myself. I have a buddy who I've known since college. We went to the same college our freshman year, and he is a very, very successful country artist. And at one point, I texted him, this is years ago, and his number had changed. I didn't have his new number. And it wasn't until we ran into each other a few years later that I was like, dude, you changed your number. He's like, oh, man, I changed my number. Here's my new number, whatever. So we were having dinner. He was here in Nashville. We were having dinner. This is several months ago. And I said, hey, every one of my former students, all my old friends, I've had my same number forever and ever and ever. And as the show has grown and as more books are sold, et cetera, my number has made its way around, and I'm getting more and more texts. And I love getting them, but I can't handle them all, right? They just come all the time. Hey, what about this? Can you send me a book? Can I borrow this? Hey, I don't want to bother you, but hey, my friend is going through this. Can you call my friend? It just gets more and more and more and more. And now that the show, that the social media is getting into the millions, I just can't handle it all. And so I said, hey, when did you decide to pull the trigger and change your number? And he asked me, and I talked to him about some specifics, and he said, here's the deal. You can change your number. So you can do that today. And then he smiled and said, or you can just be an adult and not feel like you have to respond to everything. I was like, ooh, that's not cool. And here's what ultimately the conversation led to. Just because somebody knocks on your door doesn't mean you have a moral or character obligation to answer it. Just because somebody decided, hey, I want to talk to that person, doesn't mean I have to stop everything in my life and talk to that person. There are 3 or 4 or 5 people in my world, not work included, but 3 or 4 or 5 people that no matter what, when they call, I stop, the world stops, I head out of whatever meeting I'm in, and I answer the phone. Other than that, I've learned to be comfortable with 100 unread texts on my phone. And sometimes I'm sitting in an airport and I'll go through and check them all. I just simply don't have the capacity to be the person I want to be and answer them all. So for you, what makes you feel like you have to answer every time the phone rings or answer the text within 1 second every time the phone texts?
I don't think I do. And I think I've been more and more comfortable of letting that go. I think there's an added layer because I thought that she was one of those like friends or close friends are like family to me. And I thought she was one of those until I realized like, I would reach out or we would be in her area and we make a point to go see her. But then they would come, her and her husband would come to our area and then we wouldn't hear from them. So I feel like I thought she was. And so like I had that, like natural.
But did you ever ask that question?
No, I don't think this has been like the last week or two where I've really just been kind of unpacking like things that I really didn't, like I'm just connecting the dots. And then they're also my kids' godparents too. So that adds another layer to it too. So, yeah.
But I mean, when I lived in Texas, my kids had they weren't, I don't call them godparents, but they had the people they would go to if something happened to me and my wife. When we moved to Nashville, we made the decision, we don't want our kids sent away to someone they haven't seen before or they haven't seen in 5 years because our kids are so little, there's so much shifts and changes, right? And so we changed that. And it wasn't a dramatic thing. It was just hey, we're going to, and it was like, okay, cool. And it was thank you for honoring us during that time. But I'm more interested in why your friend came to town, they didn't call you, and you didn't go, are you serious? Why didn't you call me? Like, what kept you from having that conversation? Because it sounds like then you made up a story about why they didn't call you, and now you've created an entire world where you're anxious about that story. Like, see what I'm saying? It just builds on itself. Yeah,
and I think it's more just like, I've just realized, like, it's happened, I mean, over and over again, and at one time, I think, I can understand, like, you guys are busy, you have a plan, that's fine, but I think over and over again, like, that continues to be the case, yet when, like, she calls or like reaches out, it's kind of like the expectation that I respond immediately. I'm seeing
whose expectation is that?
Hers, I think.
I know, but why are you letting it speak into your soul?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a question about you, not her.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And here's where it came for me. It ultimately, my conversation with my musician buddy was, I have always thought of myself as the go-to guy. If you call Delony, he'll show up. Even to the detriment of his own sleep, his own health, his own family, all just show up. And then it got to be so big, I couldn't. And I didn't have a psychology for that until my buddy said, hey, dude, you got to be an adult. And you got to take care of your family first. You got to take care of you first so that you can do whatever else you need to do.
Yeah.
And so my question...
And I'm a recovering... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
You're a recovering people pleaser?
Yes, I am. I am. Yeah. So that's definitely where that comes from.
Do you have friends in your new area?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a great community here. And I just, like... I think that's part of why I started seeing the disparity more, because I saw what it was like to have, people who show up, but, are also okay if, it takes a couple of days for me to get back to them too. So
what about just saying simply, why are you just not texting me back? Man, it's been a wild one. What's up? Or I called you like 3 days ago. Yeah, I only check my messages once a week. What's up?
Yeah.
And I am, I don't know that it has to be this big dramatic, we need to talk. Gotcha. Right? If she was one of your ride or dies, like a really close friend, here's what I've learned. I've had really close friendships in seasons. Like men and women that I like did everything with. Like we worked together, we played together, we went to school together, class, like we were close. And it would be strange 5 years later for me just to pick up the phone and call. It'd be like, oh, hey, what's up? It'd be kind of weird. And so I loved those friends. I still do. I care about them. And if they reached out and said, hey, can you help me with this? I do my best to help. But they're not my day-to-day ride or die friends. And I've had friends throughout those seasons that are woven through the 5 or 6 or 7 men and women that will be my go-tos, hopefully, till I'm not here on this planet anymore. And so it's me grieving like, yeah, that was my best, closest friend for those 5 years, those 10 years, those 2 years, those 17 years. And then I moved. He had a kid. She had 3 kids. She quit doing that job and got promoted and started doing that job and it got busier. And life just took us this way and took them that way. And that's okay. It's all good. But I don't know that needs like a big event.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's also me grieving, like, because I thought like this was one of those lifelong friendships. And I'm
There
just
you go.
realizing it's not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As you're
And
talking, I'm like,
it's also easy to doubt your own judge. Like, if I missed it, am I missing it now with my current friend? And I would tell you that's not really fruitful talk. It's not that. That's not a good train of thoughts to waste energy on.
yeah.
Like, this was a friend. Y'all were there for each other. You're realizing now, like, man, I need something different from friends in this season of my life. Cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm still a little bit, and I guess I can't control how she responds to that, but
Nope.
I don't anticipate it being
Zero.
a good response. Yeah.
Well, and here's a fun thing I want you to do. It's not a fun thing. It's kind of an agonizing thing. Every time she calls, I want you to identify where it makes you uncomfortable in your body. Is it in your chest?
Okay.
Is it in your gut? Is it in your, like you automatically exhale instead of, right? Instead of inhale?
Yeah.
Where is it in your body? And then the second thing is when she chastises you, where is that in your body? And all the practice of where is this in your body is the practice of you slowing down and metabolizing it and giving yourself just a gap before you respond with, oh, I'm so sorry. No, you're not. You shouldn't be sorry. You're a grown woman. You can respond whenever you want, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you that one pause so that you can begin to change your language and change your actions over time. So where is this?
That's
Like it's in my chest. It's real tense. Oh yeah. Hey, I'm slow responding to texts these days because I just don't care about my phone that much. What's up? And that's what we're gonna get there. And eventually, maybe she'll say, hey, I just don't feel like we're close as we used to be. And you could say, we're not. Like, I moved far away. I don't make it over to your area. When you come here, we don't even see each other. I mean, it's just one of those things. I love you. And maybe I'll need to have that conversation someday, but I don't know that it needs to be that pronounced.
Okay.
Here's my rule. If there is a regular practice of getting together and something happens, I'll use something egregious. Let's say every Monday night you had the same group of couples over to your house. And one of the women who came to your house kissed your husband. Right? Now we're going to have a talk. You're not welcome in my home anymore because of X, Y, and Z. If slowly I have a kid and you have a kid and you are like a little league parent and you just start going to a lot of games, like, hey, I can't make it on Monday. Like, that's cool. Maybe eventually you say, man, I miss you. It's like, I know I got all these games. But it's just going to naturally fade out that way. See what I'm saying?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I was carrying around a lot of guilt about the natural fade.
Yeah, and I want you to have guilt when you violate your boundaries. I now feel guilty when I respond to like out of the blue texts and emails and calls at the expense of my kids. That's now I feel guilty now. I used to feel guilty by not responding right away. I like, or I would leave my phone on 24/7, 365 because I wanted to be that guy. Now I go to bed, I flip it over. And in the morning, I've got one buddy, Lane, Dr. Norton, he texts late at night. I blow him up in the morning when I respond back. So and he's somebody that I love and I will respond to as quickly as I can when I get him. But also I'm recording all day. My phone's up. So I've just made peace with, I get to choose who I respond to and how quickly I respond to and with what degree. And the times I feel guilty or when I violate my own new values around phone, access, etc. But I think we kind of get obsessed with, we have to make these big announcements. We are no longer this. We are no longer that. I don't think we do. If you change godparents, if you change the people who will take care of your kids if you pass away, you need to communicate that. That's an important thing to communicate because God forbid something do happen to y'all. You don't want two people showing up to the court with a note from you saying, no, they said I'm holding the original will. And you're like, well, they changed the will. You don't want that. You don't want somebody tying your kids up in court or whatever kind of mess. And so if you do change that, you need to have that conversation. But that's as simple as I want my kids to go be with somebody who they're growing up with. And now we live in this community versus that community. That's pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. But I think the work here to be done is with you on my friend Lisa and how Lisa begins to take control of her schedule, who she talks to, who she communicates with, and how. And what few people are on stop the presses, like I'm going to take this call no matter what. And what the rest of the people that I love and I care about, but I've got work to do. I've got family. I've got more pressing issues, and I'll circle back when I can. That's your work to do. That's your work. Thanks for the call, Lisa. You're awesome.